Hello and welcome to my live, guys. I have it streaming on the same camera on all my platforms. So I'm super excited that you guys are here. This is a
These
tech
are just things in our head. Our
tech
body.
nightmare. But I'm glad that you're here. I can't tell if I'm really live on TikTok. So if anybody's on TikTok, let me know. It looks like I'm live.
Actually experiences.
Let's turn on my phone. Do you guys have, let's see, Aaron Henderson joined. Aaron, are you here? Guys, if you're on TikTok and you can see me, let me know. Because I'm not, this is like a new thing that I'm trying out, and I would love to know if you're actually here. Looks like people are here. Hello. Let's talk. What should we talk about today? Do you have things you want to talk about? Let's talk about some labor secrets. How does that sound? Just as people are getting in the room, if you guys have questions, let me know, especially if you're on TikTok. If you can see me, let me know, because it doesn't really look like I'm live on mine. So I would love to know if I actually am live to the pregnancy nurse. Oh, Bookery Besties, thank you. Guys, if anybody is interested in book, they're like little things that you can put on the side of your book. If you're a big book fan, check out Bookery Besties. They just made a comment. Okay, number 1, movement is a key. I think a lot of times people just think labor will naturally happen. And honestly, as I was a new labor nurse, I just kind of was like, my job is to not mess with Mother Nature. It'll just happen. But if we spend all of our time in like one position, that's not doing us any favors. So you want to be moving during labor, and you want to make that a priority, especially in early labor. A lot of times people are at home and they're just living their best life at home, and really you want to move. I just saw What a Doula Do. If you don't follow her, definitely give her a follow, where she was talking about how you alternate between an active pose, so that's like standing and swaying or all fours, something that you're engaged in, and then half an hour later you go into a passive pose, which is where you're just laying on your side with your leg draped over a peanut ball. So if that makes sense to you, I think that's a super good idea. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm going to head to those 2. Number 2 is that preparation really makes a difference. I think a lot of people on social media are like, I am just going to watch some people on social media, and that will be plenty of education for me about my birth. But that is not the case. The more you can get prepared with an expert, the better. And I really think a class is so important because it goes from beginning to end. So I'm a huge fan of that. Obviously, I offer a birth class, the online prenatal class for couples. So I would love to have you guys in there. It only takes a few hours. I think a lot of people think birth class, they got to be there for like 12, and that is not the case. And then number 3 out of 3 birth secrets, so be sure to ask your questions, is to know what you can control, like in labor, because there's a lot in labor that no one can control. Your doctor can't control it, your nurse can't control it, you can't control it. And so you want to be sure to have the mental mindset of what you can control while you're in labor. And usually what you can control is your attitude towards what's going on, and also like how you act for it. If you're like open to, moving during labor or things like that, you can control those different kinds of things. But I think a lot of times we think we can control things that we can't, and I'm the worst at that in regular life. So being open to the things that you can control. So please go ahead and share my live, ask your questions. I would love to talk through them. Let's check out any questions that have happened. Jean Carlos on YouTube said something, but it was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately. Thank you guys for being here. What kind of pregnancy questions do you guys have? Tell me in the comments. I don't see anything lately. In case we haven't met, hello, I'm Hillary. I'm the pregnancy nurse. I've been a nurse since 1997. I have 20 years of labor and delivery experience, and I feel like my camera is a little too close. Let's back up the camera a little bit. It seems like it's closer on console. I got like a new camera. I'm trying some new things, so I'm feeling good about it. Yeah, if you guys have questions, please tell me in the comments. I would love to answer them. I can see everybody's comments. So that's fun. Shima says, I just gave birth last month. Congratulations. What? Did you have a boy? Did you have a girl? Tell us more. That's so exciting. Congratulations. How are you doing? Just a quick note for you guys. I just saw that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, said that she had a very rare complication in postpartum preeclampsia. And I kind of rolled my eyes because it is not that rare. And I think it's super important that we all know about it. Have you guys heard about it? You can get preeclampsia postpartum, so you still need to be watching out for the headache, blurry vision, all those different kinds of things. If you're interested, I have Postpartum Made Easy is the name of it, over on my website that you guys can do. I'll pop the link in the notes for people that are able to get notes, but it's still really important to be watching out for those things, and it's totally free. And super helpful. Where is it? Actions. Postpartum care made easy. Shima said, thank you. I had a girl. I'm okay, but I wanted to know how long till I get my period. Oh, goodness. It really depends. So if you're breastfeeding, a lot of times it takes a little bit longer. If you are just like different hormonal shifts, things that you're doing can take a while. I actually don't breastfeed. I don't get any breast milk, and it still takes 9 months for me to get my period back. So it really, really varies. So yeah, just enjoy it while you can. I would guess the average is probably about 6 months. Most people don't get it if they're breastfeeding real frequently in the beginning, but then as you start to introduce solids and things like that, sometimes you get it. Maggie Ramirez on Facebook says, how do we prepare for an unplanned C-section? Great question, Maggie. I love that. What I recommend is to take a birth class that includes C-sections in the birth class. I look at some doulas' birth classes and I'm like, they're like pain management, how to collect your colostrum, like how to say no to doctors, and like how to make your own birth gown. And I'm like, that's not what we need to know at all. So I would recommend taking a birth class from somebody who has done thousands of C-sections. I don't think I've done thousands of C-sections, but I've done a lot of C-sections. And I have a whole chapter on what to expect in the OR. Just some things that catch people off guard is like how cold it is in the room, how much counting they do in the room. And I explain all the reasons that we do so much counting in that birth class. What other things catch people off guard? Just like kind of how open they are to the world, and how numb they are with the spinal. And so usually you get a spinal anesthesia, not so much an epidural anesthesia, but yeah. Oh, Knots and Crafts with Amber. Hello, Amber. Your C-section chapter had me so well prepared for my C-section with my first. Yes. And a lot of people sort of are like, I'm just going to skip that section. And yeah, not a great choice. I always recommend it for anybody who is going in for because 1/3 of people end up having a cesarean section. So Maggie, because you're on Facebook, I'm going to put the link to this post where I talk more about this. That might help you out. Amber, welcome back. How are you doing? So glad you're here. I'm going to hide that. Amber, I am streaming on all of my platforms at once. I'm basically a Twitch streamer. I'm not a Twitch streamer. All right. Do we have more questions? Amber, are you going to have a C-section this time? Like, what's your plan? Tell us. Be fun to hear. I'm just looking on TikTok if it looks like I'm live. I don't know how you tell that you're live on TikTok. I thought if you clicked on your thing, it would show it. But it don't. I feel like not very many tickety talkers are here. Amber says she's good. She's tired, but good. And yes, another C-section. So if you've previously had a C-section, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you should just go for a VBAC. And I am not a believer in that. I think you really need to think about why you had your C-section the first time and how it applies to this birth. Oh, and Amber, you were on the Instagram live. I'm like trying to figure out all this liveness because I just figured out a virtual camera. Like, guys, I'm legit over here. I'm not legit. She said, yeah, just told the doctor to cut me open and pop it out. Yeah. So I have a friend, Rachel, who her first baby was breech. And when she told me that, I was like, she is dying inside. But she wasn't. She was like, I really love how planned it is. I'm a big fan of it. And then after delivery, I was like, how are you doing? Are you okay? And she was like, I loved it. That's how I want to do it every time. And I think that's valid. If you really enjoyed your previous C-section and you want to do it again, then do it again. And there are a lot of times that a C-section is probably most warranted because of, you know, who knows what happened on your first delivery. Now, if your first one was breech and this baby's head down, now that's a big difference than, you know, if you push for 2 hours, you know, this time you might not want to do that this time. So yeah, it really helps if your OBGYN is a good surgeon too. And yeah, it is true. Like every doctor is a little bit like some are better at some things and some are better at different things. So I totally agree with that. What other questions do you guys have? Maybe this is not the time of the day for the lives. It's kind of quiet in here. I just got back from Universal Studios, Orlando. Anybody in Orlando? Oh my goodness, how do people live in Orlando? It's so hot down there in April. Says the girl from Phoenix, but I'm used to the dry heat. I did not go to Epic Universe, so I did not get invited to their media previews. I was just down there for a conference and went to Universal Studios, so that was kind of fun. Okay, what other things should we talk about? Let's talk about some other things that surprise people about a C-section. The boy will be 4 tomorrow. Can you believe I've been following you for that long? No, I'm sure most people follow me for like 3 months and then call it good. So, wow, Amber, there should be an award for best follower for you. Yeah, what time, what, if you guys could pick a time that would be better, let me know. I would love to know if there's a time that would be better to go live, like evening or whatever. I'll try a few different times now that I figured out what the heck this setup was. Okay, so C-sections. 1/3 of people end up having C-sections. And especially on your first baby, it is a little bit of a wild card. And I find that people want to just put their head in the sand and not think about it instead of maybe actually preparing for the C-section. So other ways you can prepare for the C-section is just think about what you might want after baby's out. Yeah, after normal work hours. Although it's 6:27 on the East Coast, right? Might be too early still. I also am trying to do it before the child comes home. You guys don't know I have a 16-year-old that still lives here and needs parenting. So yeah. I also have some Boursin chicken in the crock pot so I'm pre-cooking the chicken with tomatoes and chicken broth. And then I'm going to cut that up when this live is done. And then you add some of that Boursin cheese, like the circles you get them at Costco, and some orzo, and then later some spinach. And it makes the deliciousest dinner. Yeah. I actually have to keep going live here for 25 minutes because I'm using this new TikTok studio. So, yeah, we're just going to hang up for a little bit. Do you guys have, if there are any questions, I would love to answer them in the comments. I keep getting a Facebook message. I don't know why. Yeah. I met with a few brands while I was at this conference that I went to. I met with the American Heart Association, and I think they're really wanting to look to do some more work about heart health, both during pregnancy and postpartum. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is a chance of pregnancy related or postpartum related cardiomyopathy where your heart enlarges, and people just don't know of the symptoms that they should be watching for with that. Oh, Amber said she is having energy and exhaustion issues. So not unusual, Amber. I think there's a lot of people who end up having that. If you are feeling extra exhausted, you might want to talk with your provider about your iron levels, see if you are possibly anemic and should increase your iron, or any other vitamins that you might want to be taking. Vitamin D or things like that can sometimes help with that. So, but I got to tell you that with my last baby, I was like, either I have cancer or I'm pregnant, because it's one or the other, because I am so tired. Oh, we've got a question on Facebook. I feel like my baby will be big. I have 2 other kids, but you never know. So I want to know anything C-section just in case. Also low iron, how do we get it at a good level? Okay, so first off, you think your baby will be big. I got to say that moms know. I used to ask people, like at the bedside when I would check them in, like if they thought that this baby was bigger than their last baby, and oftentimes people were right. So if you're feeling bigger, now this is at the end of pregnancy, not like at 20 weeks, it's important to maybe check that out, mention it to your doctor. To want to know anything C-section. Super smart. I mean, you don't need to know how to do a C-section, but I think if you know the basics about when you go back into the OR, I think my video is 15 to 18 minutes long. And really people are just like, that was the perfect amount so that I knew what was going on before I had my surgery. I'm not talking hours here. It's just a little bit of information can help you feel so much better as you go back into the operating room. So it might be something to consider. I know a lot of people also are like, oh, I've already had a baby, I don't need to get a birth class. And I disagree. The beauty of my birth class is if you take it once, then you can keep taking it like Amber is doing. But you can also take it on subsequent babies, and it can be super helpful for that as well. Okay, low iron, how do we get it to a good level? So usually they recommend increasing your iron intake, although iron can only be absorbed, I believe, with vitamin C. So if you're really not able to increase your iron levels, I would ask your provider to see if you could do a nutrition consult. I love Feed Your Zest. I don't know if any of you guys follow her, Mackenzie. She's the one who, she is on my birth class and talks about nutrition on there. But she does online consults from around the United States, which can be really helpful. But most people, they just recommend taking iron pills, but there are other things you can do for low iron. For instance, spinach. I'm having spinach in my dinner tonight, and that can be a great way to increase your iron levels. Red meat, things like that. So those are my thoughts for Maggie. Thanks so much for the question. Do we have more questions? Amber said the tech was concerned I haven't been able to keep my prenatals down, so that might be the issue. Yes. Have you tried gummies? Have you tried it in water? Those are 2 different things that I've seen people try to help get the prenatals down. Oh, and she also says to tell the anesthesiologist if you have anxiety, they can help you with the meds. Yes. So when you go in for a C-section, it's really important that we not give you anything extra initially in the OR. So we don't want to like make baby sleepy or anything like that. But as soon as baby is out, we can give you extra things that can really help with anxiety or all those different kinds of things. Yeah. So I would 100% recommend telling your anesthesiologist everything that you're feeling. If you're starting to feel like you're going to throw up, if you're feeling anxious, things like that, just be aware that before baby comes out, there's some things we don't like to give, just because we want baby to come out to be crying and upset, not just like lethargic and ready to have a nap, if that makes sense. So good information, Amber. All right. Do we have more questions? I'm going to try, I've tried them like in the morning and they've done well too. So I'm just going to try all different kinds of days and see how things go. I'm also running a webinar through my newsletter. So if people wanted to watch it, that way they can watch it as well. So join my newsletter if you want to be notified that I'm going to be going live, because I think I'm going to do that more often in case people aren't on social media. I can't blame them there. Yeah. Do we have more questions? I would love to answer anything anybody has. Amber says she started a new prenatal today that has peppermint in it and is the only one pill instead of 2 or 3. Yes. So see if that helps. A lot of people really like the gummies. Amanda said, I do children's chewable vitamins so they can be more palatable. Amanda, does that get you enough folic acid? The other thing I see people talking a lot about is choline. Although if you're eating eggs with yolks, you might not need to do that because yolks are really high in choline. Yeah, but really you're looking for any way to try and get it down that you can, because the baby will take from you whatever it wants. Obviously, in the beginning, we want to make sure that we're getting that folic acid so the baby, we decrease our chance of neural tube defects. But after, those first few weeks, you're really keeping up the vitamins because the baby's going to leach everything it wants, including from like your bones. Yeah. They never said to supplement with anything. I take 2 vitamins worth as one. Yeah. So Amanda, I would just take your vitamins in your purse to your provider appointment and just see what they say. And then, go from there. I'm anemic now, so I take iron 2 times a day. Amanda, do you have a hard time taking the iron? Because usually that's not my favorite. Yeah. Maggie says, I'm 29 weeks. I have 10 weeks left since I always have my babies at 38 weeks gestation. Yeah. So do you just naturally go into labor, Maggie, then? Or are you induced for specific reasons? 10 weeks left, not too much time. Hey, sis, you home? Mm-hmm. Hi. Daughter's home from school. Everybody thinks I have little kids, but I do not. My oldest is 25 and my youngest is almost 16. Oh, and she just joined my live. Thank you so much. I'm almost done, so I'm not too worried. Yeah, but Amanda, you're still going to want to keep taking prenatal vitamins in that first year of life, especially if you're breastfeeding. But even if you're not breastfeeding, they have shown how much it still takes from your body postpartum just to heal. And so you want to be taking those vitamins for sure, even postpartum. Yeah. Maggie said she naturally goes into labor at 38 weeks. Girl, that was not me. I was like a 41er. I went 12 days over with my last baby. I do think I'm a late ovulator, so I think that's part of it, but it's the absolute worst. Do you have any tips for someone exclusively pumping? Amanda, I love the Breastfeeding Mama. I think she gives so many good tips, because you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping that supply up and things like that. Make sure that you're having a good pump. I know that she has a lot of things about pumps. Do you have a pump that you prefer? I know the Eufy is kind of the big rage out there, which is funny because we have used Eufy at our house for years. We have their home like security cameras, and we also have a Eufy RoboVac. So the fact that they now have breast pumps is kind of funny to me. I don't know why it's so funny. It shouldn't be funny to me. So my big tip is to have something that works. I think everybody wants those the wearables to work so well, but they just don't usually do that. Oh my goodness. Amanda says her little man will be in the NICU and have open heart surgery the first few days, so he'll have a tube. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So Amanda, are you planning to exclusively pump the whole time or just the first few days that they're in the NICU? Goodness. Good luck to you. I'm actually friends with Jimmy Kimmel's mom. And I don't know if you know, Jimmy Kimmel's youngest son had heart issues. Anyway, so it was really interesting to follow that behind the scenes. Amanda bought a used Medela, so fingers crossed. Amanda, will your insurance cover a pump if you're in the United States? Something to consider. Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions? I'm here for just a little bit longer. I'm so glad you guys came on and asked your questions. Thank you for being here. Sam King said, God bless them. Amen. God bless all of our pregnant mamas. Maggie said she takes her prenatal and your doctor prescribed iron since I always get anemia. Okay, I gotta ask, guys. Do the iron pills make you feel sick? I do not. I do not feel well with iron pills. Yeah, they're not my favorite. So the fact that you guys you're like, I can't take my prenatal vitamin, but I can take the iron pills. Interesting. Maria, what is the earliest you can hear the heartbeat at home with a Doppler? It is hard on your own to really find that baby because a lot of times you're going to find your heartbeat. You have a couple arteries down in that area that can sound just like baby if you don't know what you're watching for. So, I mean, those Dopplers that you buy, I think, are just about as good as they have them in the doctor's office. So if you're good at it, same about as them. So that's about 10 weeks, I think. But it's tricky. So that's something to be aware of. Amanda says she doesn't have any issues with her iron pills. Okay, Hillary's just a loser. That's cool. Cool. Amber says, iron makes me feel sick. So far, this new prenatal includes iron and I don't feel sick yet. Yeah, so it's not the prenatal that included the iron. It's an actual like ferrous sulfate pill and also super constipated. Not a fan. Amanda says, I'm 32 weeks and can't hear with a stethoscope. Yeah, so I would go try and listen with my stethoscope because I have one of those and I would never hear it. They use like sorry guys. They have like a fetoscope a lot of times that they use, which is like where you put it on their belly and then your ears directly that way. Like on Call the Midwife, although I've heard that like some like home midwives will use those. Morgan says, I have the baby Doppler, Berlin Doppler, and I used it a ton until baby started kicking. Yeah, so just so you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of those Dopplers because a lot of people will be like, oh, baby's not moving. And then you listen to the Doppler, not listen to their instincts and be like, okay, baby's okay. But it's so important that if baby's movements have changed that you still get help, not just listen with the Doppler and move on with your life. So I think a Doppler can be reassuring in those first few weeks of pregnancy. I definitely have friends who have used the Dopplers, but that's just something to be aware of that. I think it's more important to make sure that you're doing your kick counts and monitoring baby's movements. If you guys don't know how to do kick counts, under resources on my website, you can find my kick count, my free kick count thing. I'm going to drop that link in places where I can drop the link. It sometimes take a little bit of time to come up, just so you guys know, like this page, because I have a ton of like freebies. It can take a second and scroll a little bit and it'll make it come up. Morgan says she totally agrees. Yeah. So the Doppler can be fun, especially in early pregnancy if you know what you're looking for. One of the tips you can do is like have your partner, or if you can, I'm not great at checking pulses, says the pregnancy nurse. You just want to make sure that you're not hearing your pulse, that you're hearing the baby's pulse. So once you get that, you're then going to check your pulse and make sure it's not lining up with it. And then if it's different, then you know that that's probably baby. But it should not reassure you if you are having poor fetal movement or things like that. Remember, kick counts start in your third trimester, which is about 27, 28 weeks. All right. Do we have more questions? TikTok's winning right now. Good job, TikTok. I'm excited to try some different times. If you guys have times that you'd rather have me do it, message me. You guys are all here, so this is your best time, which is awesome. Anyway, thanks for coming on. In case we haven't met, I'm Hillary. I'm the pregnancy nurse. I've been a nurse since 1997. I have 20 years of labor and delivery experience, and I'm your Bump to Baptistinette bestie who is going to explain all these things that nobody talks about. I'm also the creator of the online prenatal class for couples, which really is the easy way to get prepared for your upcoming birth. So I would love it if you guys join me in there. Oh, Amanda just asked what happens at a non-stress test. Awesome question, Amanda. I don't think we talk about third trimester testing enough, as well as what the results of the third trimester testing could mean moving forward in your pregnancy. So a non-stress test, you're going to go in, the nurse is going to apply the monitors to your belly, and then they just watch how the baby's doing in times where hopefully you're not contracting. NST is hopefully done at a time where you're not contracting, versus there is actually something called a CST, or contraction stress test, where you elicit contractions and see how baby does during that. But you're just watching those and you're seeing how baby's heart rate goes up and down during the stress test. So it does sound very boring. I would bring a book or something to watch on your phone. In reality, so if you're coming and getting it at the hospital, it takes almost that long for us to the initial assessment and to go all through the different things, especially your first time, because we have to go through like, did your grandma have cancer? And like all these different kinds of things. Now, if you're getting it at the provider's office, they won't have to go through all those different things. But I, of course, have only done them in the hospital setting. So that's just something to be aware of. Yeah. When does an NST usually occur? I'm 28 weeks. They're ordered sometime in the 3rd trimester if you have either baby's not moving as well, or you have like some issues on your ultrasound, or you have some higher risk things, diabetes, multiple gestations, things like that. Amanda, I mean, your doctor has your full history, but it doesn't translate to the hospital knowing your full history, unfortunately. So we still have to ask you all the things. Morgan, some providers do it in the office, and some providers just have you go to the hospital or like a perinatology office and have them done there. So ask your provider where you're going to be getting it done, and that will probably change things because a lot of providers just do it in the office. And they usually just then attach it to your regular checkup. They must have a nurse there that can read them. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys come join me in the online prenatal class for couples. I would love to see you guys in there. Otherwise, I hope I will see you on my next. Oh, Rebecca just asked, is it normal for Braxton Hicks to stop? I mean, that's how we know it's a Braxton Hicks versus true labor. So Braxton Hicks can feel just as painful as regular contractions. The thing is, do they result in labor or do they kind of peter out and stop? So it is normal for them to stop, and that's what shows that it is Braxton Hicks. So great question. All right, final call for questions. Looks like we are all finished up. I want to thank you. I want to thank you guys for coming on, and